The interesting thing about social media is that's kind of a catch-all phrase that doesn't really talk about what's actually happening. And what's happening is that flow of attention. I try to break it down into what the actual kind of physics of attention are, right? I think about attention as this flow. You know, we're sort of naturally, we click on stuff, right? And we move around the internet in this way, and that to me is the overall attention flow on the internet. And then I try to put that against what you're really trying to accomplish as an artist. The blessing and curse of the internet is that anyone can build a website, but it's not a build it and they will come world. So just because you built it doesn't mean anyone's going to know it's there. So the first thing you're always trying to do is build awareness. If you're lucky enough to build awareness, then you're trying to build fan connections. If you can build fan connections, then you've got to build a fan relationship and fan trust. And to do that, you need to communicate in some authentic way. Only when you've done that stuff can you actually sell anyone anything. The interesting thing about Facebook and Twitter is that they are not sort of inherently viral. What they are is they're two different forms of marketing. One is direct marketing, right? And that's a relationship between an artist and a fan. And the other is what most people call viral marketing, the sort of fan-to-fan marketing, right? So I would break it apart into those two things. You've got the artist-to-fan channel, and then you've got the fan-to-fan channel. There's an interesting book written by an MIT professor, which I haven't read, but I saw an article about, an interview with him about the book. And one of the most interesting things that he said, which is related to this topic, is that when patrons are interacting with each other, it's often not commerce. And the example that he used is that we do it all the time. You go to the store and you buy a bottle of wine, and then you take the price tag off and you give it to somebody else. One of those is commerce or vending, and the other one is gifting. When 50 Cent says, check out my new video, that's vending. Right? He might mean it in a genuinely kind of sharing way, but just sort of by nature is vending. When someone retweets that's they're not getting anything for doing that except the benefit of sharing something they care about. So if you're vending something valuable, people want to share it with other people. It's the nature of human interaction. And so that's kind of the physics of the space. And then you ask, what is it for? What is social media for? They give us two things. A, they give us a conduit by which to communicate. So, if a fan likes me on Facebook, then I can put something on my page and it will appear in their stream. Ditto for Twitter if someone follows me. But let's face it, people aren't often going to an artist's fan page. Companies like Root Music are doing a good job making those pages more attractive and making them a destination. But from either Twitter or Facebook, it's as easy to click to your website as it is to click to a page on Facebook. So there's no inherent intrinsic value to having your page live, on Facebook as opposed to having it live on your website. It could be either place, right? And I think it's kind of up to you and to how much do you want to invest in either one of those platforms. Far and wide, what people are doing on Facebook is looking at that stream. What people are doing on Twitter doesn't even have homesteading, right? There isn't even a page really. Your page just has your feed. So what you've really got are these sort of communication feeds. And I think that what you really want to do with social media, more than anything else, is be a part of the conversation. Second to that is the homesteading part, where I'm going to have a really nice page. I'm going to make sure people can hear my music. I'm going to make sure people know where they can buy my music, all that. You definitely want to have all of that stuff. But I think it's hard, having lived through it, to not look at the example of MySpace and not want a little more sovereignty beyond what Facebook offers. If you spent a lot of time building up hundreds of thousands of followers on MySpace, those people are unreachable to you at this point. And that's really dangerous. And I certainly would still, as much as possible, grab email addresses, grab mobile numbers, have my own website, be a sovereign entity which is going to, live through, whatever the Facebook of tomorrow is. There will be one, right? We work with Linkin Park. Linkin Park has tens of millions of fans on Facebook and hundreds of thousands of people on an email list. We still sell more product by putting a message on the email list than we do by putting a message on Facebook. You really want to hand all of your fan connections over to one company who will go through its changes. So using those channels to build fan connections, to put your own content out there, to have people share that content, whether it's you might be sharing something else, you might just be sharing a thought that you had, but that kind of real, authentic communication is what builds trust, and it can add to your artist's persona and brand. The most highly leveraged thing that you can do is to put good content out there, have people care about you, have people actually follow and pay attention to what you have to say, because then you have a way to talk directly to them.